All right, so ladies and gentlemen, here I am with one of the best in business, Mr. Paul Bostaph. This guy needs no introduction. You probably know him for his drumming on Slayer, but he's been around for a lot in Exodus, Testament, Forbidden, to name a few. And since 1994, then Slayer, and you know the rest of the story. Isn't that right, Paul? Welcome.
That's right. Thanks for the intro, Mauricio. Good to be here, man.
Yeah, amazing. This is like I really appreciate it, and I have no words to thank you for that. And I'm pretty sure that people here are gonna be like super stoked to see what you have to show us, because today we are talking about Killing Field's drum intro, which was your first appearance with Slayer. Am I right?
Actually, it was my second appearance with Slayer. The first one was the Judgment Night soundtrack with Ice-T. We
That's right.
LA. I think the song was LA '92. It was a medley of 3 punk songs, all put together. And we did, like I said, we did it with Ice-T. But that's the first time anybody had heard me. And then Divine Intervention was actually the first official record that I recorded with Slayer. But it's interesting because both those recordings for Divine Intervention, Killing Fields, and the Judgment Night soundtrack, the song we did, LA '92, they're very closely related. And I can tell that story if you want me to. I'll make it quick.
Yeah, no, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so we were working on Divine Intervention at the time, and while we were working on that record, I don't even know how many songs we had, but I know that Killing Fields didn't have a name yet. But we were working on that song, and we had the opportunity to record a song for a movie soundtrack called Judgment Night. That was the movie, and the idea was metal bands paired with rappers. So we were paired with Ice-T. So, and I'll make this as quick as I possibly can. The medley that we did, LA '92, had like this punk drum intro.
Yeah,
and it's really cool. I love it, and I wound up using that intro in the song when we finally recorded it. But what happened was, while we were working on that song, LA '92, Jeff was like, this is going to be people's first time hearing Paul, so we should do something like a little more special than that drum intro. And so at the time, and I'll make this quick, Painkiller had just come out, and that was Scott Travis's crushing introduction to the world in terms of Judas Priest. I mean, everybody knew who he was beforehand because he's a phenomenal drummer anyway. But the intro for Painkiller was so jaw-droppingly amazing, and it stuck with me forever. I'm like, that's the best drum. It's one of the best drum intros of all time, in my opinion. It's just so explosive.
I think everyone has the same experience, man. I mean, hands down, one of the greatest, and for many people, the one. Right on.
Yeah. So that said, that had always been sticking with me, and Jeff wanted to have an intro for the Judgment Night soundtrack we were doing. So it was a Friday, and he mentioned that. So I'm like, well, I have an idea. I hadn't had it worked out yet at all. It's just something, because of Painkiller, that was floating around in my head. And so over the weekend, I worked on it. And, I could go into details about how I came about writing it. And I'll make that as quick as I possibly can. And I think this is good. The way it came about was more important than the drum fill itself, in my opinion, because of how it happened. And anybody trying to create their own part, hopefully they can get something from this, So I'll make it quick. So Scott's was the best. Painkiller was the best. And so if I'm going to do a drum intro for Slayer, it better be the best, and it better be, that you have to take what the best at the time and look at it like with Scott and go Painkiller and go, that's the best. If you can't, I'm not going to say I matched it. I'm just going to say it really inspired me. And the explosiveness of it is what I really loved. And that's the same thing if you listen to Where Eagles Dare by Nico McBrain. Same thing. Just like, hello. It's very like, I'm here. It's really cool.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
and
so
just
that's
just for the record, Where Eagles There is also Nico's first appearance with Iron Maiden, so I'm pretty sure he was thinking about like making a good impression.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, I was a big Clive Burr fan, so I was like, oh my God, Maiden's got a new drummer. You're kind of like, as a fan, you're like on edge. You're going, oh man, I hope it's great. I hope it's great, because if it's not, I'm gonna be so disappointed. And then when that drum intro hits, you're just like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? You're just like, okay, I can breathe again. This is great. And as a fan myself, that's how I felt. And so because of that experience, also because being a Maiden fan and a Clive Burr fan, and then becoming a Nico fan, and being a fan, like sitting on those, on pins and needles, going, okay, put the needle on the record, because it was records back then. Put the needle on the record and go, okay, I hope it's good, and it just was great. So, and it's truly, I didn't go in my head like, okay, I want to make something great, and I'm gonna make something great. That's just not how it works. It was something that I was inspired. I drew from my influences, and at the time I was highly like, I'm not Scott Travis. Obviously, Scott Travis is in a universe of his own, and so I know that. As a drummer, I know that. And so anyway, I went over the weekend. I started thinking about the elements of what I liked about what Scott did, and the only thing I could take out of it was, and I certainly wasn't going to try to sound like Scott, because that's impossible, and it would be a ripoff anyway, and that's not cool. Was the snare and the China, bah, bah, bah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that element, and then the triplet, ba da ba ba. I'm like, okay, that I already had used that in my playing. I was using that type of stuff. So I'm like, it's not like I'm stealing from somebody. It's like, that's like that. I use it. It's explosive. It already sounds good, but I need the rest. So basically, I just, instead of working with my feet on the rest, I chose to like work with my hands and feet instead, in terms of like rack toms. And so I after the four notes, ba da ba ba, then I went 1, 2, 3 with the rack tom, ba da da ba, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with the feet. So it's 6 after that. So with the hands, with the 3, once you do the 3 with the feet, that starts the pattern over again. And when I was working on it, there was one element that was missing, and it was because while I was working on it, I finally figured it out. And like I was saying this yesterday, that when I play that part, back then I was playing it too fast. So I couldn't get from here where I hit the China and the snare to get to the hands. I didn't have enough time. And it sounded weird. It sounded like bop boom, bop boom, bop boom, bop boom. Well, that doesn't have like this, doesn't have a flow. It just doesn't. It sounds like herky jerky, like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, that's not cool. So to solve a problem, I added an extra note. So I went, 3 with the feet, then so 1, 2, 3, then China and snare, ba. So after the China and snare, ba, I added one extra note, boom, ba-da-ba-bop, ba-da-ba-bop, ba-da-da-bop, ba-da-ba-bop, ba-da-da-bop, 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 which sounds weird, right? So again, that's 1, 2, 3 with the feet, China snare, then one kick with the right kick. So it's boom, boom. So it's right, left, right. So right, left, right on the kicks, China snare, right, kick drum, one note, and then you start the pattern over. So then after you do the one note on the kick, then you do 3 with the hands, and then 3 with the feet. And so the 3 with the hands is the end of the pattern, and then it starts over again with the 3 with the feet. So in and of itself, when you play it, when I played it slow, it sounded weird, but when you play it fast, it doesn't sound weird. It actually, working on it, it actually had it had what I was looking for, Yeah. And I never thought. I mean, so I came in Monday. I'll finish the story. Sorry, real quick. I'll finish the story. I came in Monday. I was that drum fill was supposed to be for LA 92, It was supposed to be for what you call it, for that the Ice-T song we were doing for
Yeah.
Judgment Night. And so when I did that, I showed it to Jeff and Carrie on Monday, and after I played it, Jeff just pointed at the riser and looked at Carrie, and he goes, "That's gonna be the intro for the record." So he's all, he said, "Screw
Wow.
this, we'll do the intro the way it is for LA '92 with Ice-T, but he's all, that's too good to put on this track. I want it for the record." And so that's how it came about. So,
and then one quick question, because usually we're talking about 30 years ago, around roughly. Is that so?
Yeah.
So do you remember that clearly? Because you have like all the details, including like what toms you were using, right? So because most of the time when drummers create some stuff, like let's say 30 years ago, they keep on playing that and they change here and there, and suddenly they just doing something quite different from the original, but you have it clearly in your mind. Is that how it works for you? Like, you keep, if you have to play that song like today or next tour or wherever, you have the same feeling, you go for the same notes like the original?
Yes. I try to, yes. So over the years, I've taken that drum fill and I've expanded and used it in other places, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped. Once I did Killing Fields, it was like this thing where I went, the intro, I'm like, I can only use it for that, so I'm never going to use it again. And then I just kept thinking to myself, years went by, like a decade, maybe more, and I'm like, who's to say I can't use that in another part? You know what I mean?
Come on, of course.
So then I started developing it as a drum fill. I had this tendency when I come up with something, I get bored with it and I want to move on. I want to get better, and I keep moving on, and then I sometimes don't do the things that I'm good at. If that makes any sense. And so I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? You get, as players, sometimes we get bored and we go away from the things that become a signature for our sound. And it's really tough when you're an artist or a drummer, like, you want to move on, you want to evolve. You don't want to stay the same. But over the years, I think what happens is we don't realize that no matter how much we fight it, we are changing anyway. So even if I play that drum fill exactly the same, I mean, yes, if I had to play Killing Fields with Slayer or anybody else, would it only be with Slayer, I would do the pattern exactly the same, because that's how it works. That's how it works for me. I can play it differently, but there's no real reason to. You know what I mean? Of
course. But and then there's another thing which I find interesting, because do you know the name of this technique when you cross hands and feet? Like, I know it by quad. Is that how you call it also? Quads.
Okay, so if you're talking like, I call it sixes. Okay.
All right.
So a quad is two with the hands, two with the feet, right? So boom, boom, boom.
That's what I think that too. But when it comes, like, sometimes we can do 4 and 2 or whatever combination, right? Whatever fraction. And some people, I don't think there is an official name for that. Some people call it fraction fill. Some people call it like quads, and just like 6/4 quads or 4/4 quads or 2/2 quad. I don't know, man. So you call them sixes, you say?
I call them sixes to describe why. So I call it sixes because it's 3 with the hands, 3 with the feet, right?
Yeah.
So let me mute my microphone really quick. This will be,
right.
You'll probably still be able to hear me through the microphone, but this would be an example of what I call sixes, and it's only 3 with the hands, 3 with the feet.
Go ahead.
I call that sixes.
Awesome,
Okay.
awesome, right? That answers it. There's a funny story, like because there was one. I'm kind of obsessed with these things. Like I want to know the names because I'm from Brazil, Paul. All right, and we in Brazil we didn't have any English information back in the day, so we didn't have names for these things, and now I'm kind of obsessed to know if there is any name for that. And then I reached out to Mike Portnoy the other day, and I asked him, man,
Yeah.
you might be the right guy to answer this because he used this all the time. And then he just said, man, I think they're called Portnoy fills. And it's all right.
That's awesome. So to specifically answer your question, I don't know if I've never heard any official
Term, yeah.
Name for how you break up things in terms of your hands and feet. So if I'm going to describe it to somebody, if I'm doing 2 with the hands and 3 with the feet, that's 5, right? So
Yep.
I would say the way I break it down, this is just 2 with the hands, 3 with the feet, right?
Yeah.
So I always do it like that, or I'll go, it's 4 with the hands, 3 with the feet. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Right.
rarely do stuff where it's 3 with the hands, 2 with the feet. I rarely do that kind of stuff where I do 2 with the feet and more notes with the hands. I usually do 3 with the feet and add more notes with my hands. So that's just how I describe it. And so it's more specific to anybody that wants to know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I do. And but then the thing is, like, pretty common 2 and 2. We all know that. But 3, man, like we're talking about 30 years ago, or actually 34. How did you come up with 6, like 3 and 3? Because that's kind of broken and it's not like a usual. You have an idea about that, or you're because I'm pretty sure that you are the guy that you pay attention to what you're doing. You are aware of what you're creating and playing, right? But was it like on purpose, or you just felt like naturally just came 3 and 3?
No, actually, it was on purpose.
All right.
So, and I'll make the explanation pretty quick. So back when I was coming up as a drummer, everybody used double bass the same. They would do, when they do drum fills, the big drum fill in the 80s was 2 with the hands, 2 with the feet, quads.
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
That was the big. Everybody that I went to go see play live in the music scene before I was before I recorded my first record with Forbidden, everybody did that. And it was really hard because as a drummer and as somebody in a band, we were in a very competitive music scene, right? Which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Every day of the week, you could go to a club and see like Violence play, Death Angel, Testament. And not only those guys, Anthrax, you name it, like all these big acts would come to the Stone and the Omni,
Wow.
these clubs. And so as local acts, we were able to build our following, and we could open up for these acts. So you learn a lot, right? You're thrown into the fire. And as a musician, you want your band to stand out. You don't want to sound like everybody else. So you try to be original, but when you try to be original, like you could push it too far and people don't get it, right? Or you could play the same thing everybody else plays, and then everybody's going to get it, but you're just going to be one in a million bands, right? It's tough. It's hard. So
it is.
So the way I came up with 3 and 3 was everybody was doing 2 and 2, right? 2 with the hands, 2 with the feet. So it's simply, for me, it was simply a matter of math. I was listening to a lot of Tommy Aldridge. So back then I used to work a full-time job. I used to work in an auto body shop. So at lunchtime, I would go eat lunch in my car, and I would listen to Steve Smith, Journey Captured Live. I'd listen to his drum solo, right?
Yeah.
And then I would listen to Tommy Aldridge live with Ozzy all day long, right? And those would be the things I was listening to. And those two guys, like Steve Smith did stuff like if you were a drummer and you one of the big drum fills was to go, right? Right. So you're starting out with right. you're starting out with your triplet first. So so I noticed that Steve Smith, when certain drum fills he was doing in his solo, and it's just because he would start with his feet, right? It'd be he'd do the triplet with his feet, and then I was like, that is so cool. I need to learn how to do that, because it's like when you think of Journey, you think of like all the radio hits. He wasn't doing that in the radio hits, but in his drum solo he was. I'm like, that is amazing, right? And then so I looked at it and went, so what are the drummers in my genre? What's the one thing they do all the time with a drum fill? Quads, right? So I decided that I'm going to add an extra note. Brilliant, right? 3 with the hands, 3 with the feet. So I started working on it. I mean, it was just that simple. I'm like, everybody's doing 4, I'm going to do 6, and I made it work. And it's funny because one of the it's really cool because it's kind of a combination of a lot of drum fills I do was inspired by 3 drummers in terms of like the quad style fills, not quad, sorry, 6 or 5s or 7s. Because now I do a lot of 7s now, and I'm doing 5s now, which I like. I'm trying to mix them up to make them sound more interesting. But John Bonham, he had a drum fill that was great, right? I'll show you that really quick. You already know it. Everybody knows it. But it was but it's 1, 2, 3, right? And this is another 6, but I'll show you how he did it. And then I just added, then it became 3 with the hands, 3 with the feet, and it's Bonham, Steve Smith, and Tommy Aldridge. So super simple, right? And this is the bottom part. That's it.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing 2 with my right foot. That's a lot of bottom stuff, right? But so if you're just super simple, right? Now I add 3 with the feet.
Got it.
Yeah, so you could just I just started playing with it. That's all.
Yeah.
But it was intentional. The 6s.
Amazing. Because, but I tell you what, I tried to get, when I try to learn these little parts, which I post on my Instagram or whatever, I really try to go for the detail. And I actually tried Killing Fields maybe a year ago or something. And my method of learning these parts is always the same. I always try first to go by myself. I put some headphones and I try to listen and get it without any help or whatever. I just sit there with the music and I try to figure out, and then I try to play it and make it sound okay. I try to figure something out. Is it toms? Is it kicks? Is it like floor tom? I try even to get the pan to see where the sounds are coming from. And man, I had such a hard time trying Killing Fields, and I was searching all over the internet and trying to find something because I couldn't do it by myself. I just couldn't figure out. I started actually trying just I think it was 2 and 2. Something like it, but it didn't sound right. And man, I'm super curious now because I think I know how it is, but I really would like to know from you if you can then show us how it is, like if you can, and I would be very happy to try to give it a try afterwards if I can.
Yes. The only problem is that I'm not going to be able to show people my feet, because of the way that this program is. If that's okay, I might be able to. Yes, of course.
Yeah, man. It's fine because you can hear it very well. No worries.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and see. Let's see if you can see. You can see the drums. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I'll go ahead and play it. I'll see if I usually I have a China right here. So closure, all my sets are not at my house right now. So this is like a backup drum set. So just to get ready for tour. Well, I apologize.
Oh man, come on.
All right, so
don't think about it.
Okay. All right, so I'll just go ahead. Normally I'd hit a China here, but I'll just hit this symbol over here. So, basically it starts out like this. We all know that. So that's the first four. This is the first four with one kick drum. So from there, we go from the one kick to 3 on the rack toms. I'm not used to breaking it down. All right, so the 3 on the rack tom is the end of the lick, and then so then it's an answer and call. So then when you do the toms, it's 6. So for anybody that wants to work on getting that part, if you have a problem with it, just work on your 6s.
Yeah. All right, so now we have it officially from the creator himself. Paul, let me give it a try, and I'm gonna ask you some stuff here, right? So first, in the recording, you had 3 rack toms, isn't that right?
I had 3 rack toms in front. Yes.
All right, and you were hitting for that first part of the intro. You were doing on the second and third.
Yes. Yep.
And then you were passing like a two boom, and then for the other one, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute my microphone and I'm gonna try to see if I get the step by step. Is it there?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so then it's just to speed that up, right?
Yes.
Man, this is
that's it, dude.
I didn't know about I didn't know about the toms here. I just played like a same tones all over, but I man, this is awesome. Like to have this approval now is everything I need.
You nailed it, dude. I mean, you had it. I mean, you had it. You were really. I mean, it sounded great before, but that's exactly it right there. That's specifically it. That's it. That's nailed.
Thanks a lot, my man. Wow. Yes. Now, man, amazing. You know what? I'm gonna do another video. I'm gonna do it like a Killing Fields 2.0 and with the master's approval. Man, awesome. That just confirms that you were one of the coolest guys around, man. Everyone I talk about you, they all have the same experience. They all talk only good things about yourself. And there you go. Again, thanks a lot. And we just keep in touch.
Mauricio, thanks for talking drums with me, man.